Alright, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to be explorers, venturing deep into the heart of JavaScript to look at its data types. You can think of these as the absolute fundamental building blocks, like the atoms that make up everything in your code. So, you might be looking at this and thinking, what's the big deal? To our eyes, the number 123 and the text 123 look pretty much the same. But to JavaScript, oh, they might as well be from different planets. The secret is the label JavaScript puts on each piece of info, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack today. Okay, so let's really break this down. I want you to think of a variable as just a container, like a box. A data type is the label you stick on that box that says numbers only, or just text in here. Now, what makes JavaScript kind of special is that it's dynamically typed. That means you can have a container holding a number 1 second, and then boom, you can swap it out for some text the next. It's super flexible. Our expedition is going to start with the three containers you'll be using constantly. I mean, over and over again. These are the absolute essentials for any coding journey. First up is the number type. This one's pretty straightforward, right? It's your go-to for anything and everything mathematical. It doesn't matter if you're working with whole numbers or decimals with a lot of stuff after the point. JavaScript just bundles them all into this one powerful type. You can add, subtract, do all the math you'd ever expect. But the number container isn't just for, well, numbers. It holds a few strange items too. You've got these special numeric values. There's infinity, which you'll see if you do something impossible, like divide by 0. And then there's its really quirky cousin, NaN. NaN literally stands for not a number, and it's what you get when a math operation just doesn't make any sense. Like, if you try to divide a piece of text by 2, JavaScript isn't going to crash. Instead, it'll just politely return NaN, kind of tapping you on the shoulder to say, hey, something went wrong here. And here's the really crucial thing you have to know about NaN. It is sticky. Once it shows up in a calculation, any other math you do with that result will also become NaN. It's like a drop of poison. It contaminates the entire chain of calculations, signaling that there was an error way back at the start. Alright, moving on from numbers, let's talk about text. This is where the string container comes into play. Basically, anytime you see a bunch of characters wrapped up in quotes, you're looking at a string. Simple as that. Now, when it comes to quotes, you've got options. Single and double quotes are your classic, simple way to make a string. But backticks, oh, backticks are special. They have this extended functionality that lets you stick variables or even little calculations right inside the string. It is so useful. A total game changer. The last of our everyday containers is the Boolean. It's the simplest one of all. Think of it like a light switch. It's either on or it's off. It can only hold two possible values, true or false. This is the bedrock of all decision making in your code. It's the yes or no that tells your program what to do next. Okay, let's take a deep breath. We're about to venture into some slightly trickier territory. We're going to tackle two types that mess up beginners all the time, the empty states of null and undefined. But don't you worry, we're going to make this crystal clear. So here's the crucial difference, and it all comes down to intention. Null is when you, the programmer, deliberately assign a value of nothing. It's like you looked at the box and said, I am intentionally leaving this empty. Undefined, on the other hand, means a value was just never assigned. The box was made, but nobody ever got around to putting anything inside it. One is deliberate, the other is just forgotten. Okay, now that we've totally mastered the basics, let's check out a few specialized containers. You're not going to use these every day, but for certain jobs, they are incredibly powerful. Ever need to work with a number that is just astronomically, mind-bogglingly huge? Maybe for things like cryptography? The standard number type actually has a limit, but that's where big int comes in. It lets you represent integers of pretty much any length you can imagine. All you have to do is stick a little n on the end. And let's just take a quick peek at two other types you'll definitely run into as you get more advanced: object and symbol. For now, just think of an object as a master container, like a big filing cabinet that holds collections of other data. And symbol is used to create unique labels for things inside those objects. We'll give these their own deep dive in a future explainer for sure. So you're exploring your code, and you find a variable, a container. How do you actually know what's inside? You need some kind of scanner, a tool to check the data type, right? Well, JavaScript gives us exactly that. It's called the type of operator. It's a super simple tool that you just point at any variable and it gives you back a string telling you exactly what kind of data you're working with. It's incredibly handy, especially when you're trying to figure out why something's not working. And the results are pretty much what you'd expect. Type of on a number gives you number. On a big int, string gives you string, and so on. It's all very straightforward and predictable. Well, for the most part. But then we get to null. We point our scanner at our intentionally empty value, and the scanner reports back object. Wait, what? We just established that null is its own special primitive thing. So what on earth is going on here? And there it is, one of the most famous, most talked about quirks in all of JavaScript. This is a genuine bug, and it dates all the way back to the very first version of the language. So why didn't they fix it? Well, because doing so would literally break millions of websites. So just file this away as a super important piece of coding trivia. Type of null lies. Null is not an object. Our expedition is almost at its end, so let's lay out all the awesome tools we've collected in our toolkit, the 8 fundamental data types of JavaScript. So we have 7 primitive types. They're called primitive because they can only hold a single thing. One number, one string, one boolean. That's it. They are the simple, indivisible atoms of all your data. And then there's the one non-primitive type, the mighty object. This is the master container. It's used to group values together and build much more complex things. Pretty much everything more complicated in JavaScript, like arrays or dates, is actually built on top of the object. And there you have it. You now have the essential building blocks for basically any JavaScript program you can think of. You know how the language stores numbers, how it handles text, and how it makes decisions. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with them first?